South Korean President Yun Suk-yeol's political fate still up in the air after his shock move to impose martial law 2 days ago. The opposition-led National Assembly calling his decision an act of treason. The Democratic Party's leader says his party will vote on a bill to impeach Mr Yoon on Saturday evening. This puts the opposition at loggerheads with lawmakers from the president's party. Now, that's the People Power Party. Even though they reject him and his martial law decree and are calling for him to leave the party, the PPP has decided to unite, at least for now, to block this impeachment bill, claiming it could cause further chaos.
이번 탄핵은 준비 없는 혼란으로 인한 국민과 지지자들의 피해를 막기 위해서 통과되지 않도록 노력하겠습니다.
To secure that majority, to get this impeachment vote, the opposition needs 8 lawmakers from the ruling party to cross the floor. If the motion passes, President Yoon will be immediately stripped of his powers, paving the way for a trial. More trouble could also be on the horizon for Mr Yoon. South Korean police say they are investigating him for quote, insurrection after the opposition filed a complaint against him, as well as other key figures they say are involved. That crime transcends presidential immunity and could carry the death penalty. Meanwhile, protests continue across the country. Along with lawmakers, civic groups have been braving the rain to continue their march, demanding the resignation of the president. And from all those rallies, CNA's senior correspondent Lim Yun Suk joins us live from Seoul. Yun Suk, across the day-to-day rallies, both for and against President Yoon. Now, you've been at a rally at the National Assembly. What was it like there?
Well, yes, I had. And in fact, I am here outside the National Assembly now, where just a few minutes ago, there were people filling the steps leading to the National Assembly, and they were just chanting over and over again how President Yoon Suk-yeol has to be impeached. Now, this rally is the second time that they're holding it. There was one yesterday when the main opposition Democratic Party put that motion in Parliament for the impeachment of President Yoon Suk-yeol. And the people who took part in this rally were the lawmakers and their supporters too. And, you know, it was just a rally where their people sort of like took turns giving different speeches and talking about their experiences, about how the reactions, how they felt when they heard that the country was under martial law by President Yoon. And many of the lawmakers also took the mics explaining what it was like here on the grounds of the National Assembly at the time when there were helicopters hovering around this area, had landed at the National Assembly. There were troops, more than 200 troops, who had made their way inside the National Assembly, broken windows on the second floor to try and stop the lawmakers from gathering and from holding a meeting and casting that vote that eventually overturns the martial law. And so lots happening here, and I think we will be seeing more of this, especially on Saturday when the main opposition party is cast, and together with the other lawmakers are set to cast their votes on that bill to impeach President Yoon Suk-yeol. But, you know, as you just said, whether that will be able to go through or not, right now everyone is asking, since the ruling party has said that they will not vote for his impeachment, they will reject that bill. So the main opposition party lawmakers are saying that they hope between now and then they will be able to persuade some of the lawmakers from the ruling party.
Yun Suk, organized large-scale protests. Now, that's rooted deep in the South Korean zeitgeist. There's been protests against not just past leaders, but even, say, things like military presence, against labor practices as well. If we look at historical precedent, how do you see current protests panning out?
Well, yes, I mean, South Korea is known for its protests, and, there are violent protests, but many also peaceful. Right now, the protests here against President Yoon Suk has really just begun. And if you look at what happened in 2016 and 2017, when then conservative leader Park Geun-hye was going through something similar to what we're seeing now, because those protests started in October 2016, and at that time when the allegations of corruptions were starting to come up. And at that time, there was only like 10,000, 20,000 people out in the street. But that protest, that whole rallies took about 5 months, from October to March. In October, when the allegations started, and then in December, when the National Assembly voted to impeach then President Park Geun-hye, and then a few months later until March, when the Constitutional Court upheld that impeachment. And so that whole, process took 5 months, started with about 10,000, 2,000, but at the peak, there were more than 1 million. And some reports say there were more than 2 million people out in the streets. Now, the rallies that we've seen so far, in fact, the rally in downtown Seoul today brought in about 10,000, 20,000 South Koreans to the streets. So we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like, this could go on for months, especially since after the bill, if it is passed through National Assembly, it still has to go through the Constitutional Court.
Of course, what feeds these protests is what comes out of hearings on what happened on the night of President Yoon declaring martial law and then taking that back. A parliamentary hearing today with high-level officials in South Korea's military coming out to give formal statements on their contribution or their part, the parts they played in what happened that night. What did we hear today from that parliamentary hearing?
Well, yes, it was the Defense Committee parliamentary hearing, and it really went on all day inside the National Assembly. It was supposed to be attended by the Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun too, the former Defense Minister, but since he resigned and he was accepted by President Yoon Suk, he didn't have to attend that, and he did not do that. Instead, the Vice Defense Minister Kim Sun-ho and also Park An-soo, who's the Army chief and who held that position of the martial law commander just for a few hours, were also present at the National Assembly. And, it went on for the whole day, but hearing what went on inside, it really struck me because both of them were saying that they only learned about the martial law from that declaration by President Yoon on TV, and they weren't aware of this in advance. There's no notice given to them. And after they saw that happening, they all rushed the defense minister, the bunker, and it was only there then that the army chief was given that title of the martial law commander. And he said that he was just following orders. And that's why we had the troops being sent out here, though he did say that it was all being ordered by the then Defense Minister Kim Yong-hyun. So everything that they were being grilled by the lawmakers from both the ruling and the opposition parties. But the result of this was that it seems like President Yoon Suk and former Defense Minister Kim Yong-ho were really behind all of that, and everybody was unaware of what was happening at the time, and everybody knew what was going on only after they saw that declaration by President Yoon Suk.
Thanks. CNA's Lim Yun Suk there giving us the very latest, what is a continuously developing story out of politics in South Korea.